Hi, my name is Elijah. I am the host of the Fetal Position podcast and the admin over at Dank Pro-Life Memes, and welcome to my Patreon. I appreciate you even just clicking the link to be able to see what I'm doing over here and how you can get more involved. I am convinced that the best way to communicate any message online is through relevant, accurate, and easily shareable content. I have the background, the skill, and the passion to make that a reality when it comes to communicating the pro-life message. I have an educational background in both biology and philosophy, and I have workplace experience in videography, photography, and marketing. So I think I have a relatively unique perspective on how to communicate this message. Plus, if you followed my podcast for any length of time or you've seen some of the memes I've posted, I have a slightly warped sense of humor, which it helps me in making light, not inappropriately light, but making light of a very serious situation, which is abortion. The podcast that I have, The Fetal Position, is dedicated to taking the most complex issues related to the topic of abortion and bioethics generally, and distilling them down to the fundamentals. Once you understand the issue backwards and forwards, I give you advice and tips, which is based on my experience and my education, on how to communicate that message clearly and persuasively. In addition to my podcast, I create other things like videos and memes that can be used to create productive dialogue on this emotionally charged topic. I have a huge vision of what I want to do with my work here, as long as I have more time. As you guys know, time is a precious commodity, and I'm doing my best to rework my lifestyle so that I can have more time to do pro-life work, but there's only so much that I can do. And then I was encouraged by a bunch of people, both from the podcast and from the meme page, to create a Patreon or create some way for people to be able to support me in what I'm doing. And I'm humbled by this because I can't really... It's weird to me that people want to support what I'm doing, but if that can happen and I can make this into more of like a job where I can dedicate some time to it, then I will be able to create lots and lots of content for this stuff. As of right now, I have kind of two irons in the fire. I have the Fetal Position podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to talking about bioethics and abortion generally, and then I have the meme page, the Dank Pro-Life Memes, which has the same goal, which is to create productive dialogue, but of course it's in a different medium. I think memes are super important now because that's kind of where everybody's attention is, and the reason that I felt the need to start this was because I thought, man, pro-life memes kind of suck, so I'm going to go ahead and make some that don't. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to funnel in more people into my podcast so they would listen to it and learn how to create more productive dialogue on this. But the meme page itself became a whole, I don't know how you would say it, a whole monster in and of itself. And I've been able to have a bunch of doors that I never actually thought would have been opened for me. Like, I'm possibly speaking at March for Life. Like that, I never would have imagined that were to have happened. But that's what my ultimate goal was. But anyway, so what I want to do here is I'm going to jump into what I'm currently doing and what I want to do and what I will be able to do with your support. So like I said, I have the Fetal Position podcast and the Dank Pro-Life Memes right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm able to post between 3 and 4 memes a day and have the intermittent podcast that comes out once every 2, 3, 4 weeks. I want to get more in on that, but I as of right now, there's just not enough time in the day. If I were to have your support, I could scale back a little bit on the stuff I'm doing at work and focus more on the pro-life stuff because, I mean, ultimately, right, the time is money. Money essentially buys us time. So in terms of new content, what I want to do is I want to create more memes, but you know, that's just kind of like a given because the more memes you create, the more opportunities you have to have productive conversations, the more opportunities you have to just push out the pro-life message that may persuade someone who's sitting on the fence. I also want to do more podcast episodes because I think there's a ton of things that I have yet to even talk about, and I think that there are other good pro-life podcasts out there, but I bring from my perspective, the way that I look at it is I want a rapid, quick, accurate, and informed response to different pro-choice arguments. And I think we should be paying attention politically, and there's a lot of stuff that is going on right now that I I haven't done a podcast about because it would take a little bit of time for me to sit down and actually do that. But the ultimate goal for this right off the bat would be to make the Fetal Position into a weekly podcast. I would love to be able to do that. There are people that I could have on to talk about things like repealing the eighth and other political issues, then philosophical issues, and I could give you a ton of topics that I want to talk about. But beyond the meme page in the podcast, I want to create videos. Right now, if you go to my YouTube channel, which I believe you just search the Fetal Position podcast on YouTube, if you go there now, all that is there is my podcasts, and they are attached to a picture of the Fetal Position logo. That's nothing fancy. It's just, it's super easy to do, but it's just that's what I have time for right now. The ultimate goal for me on video, it would be able to create between 2 and 4 minute videos, short ones, quick ones, animated ones, that would be able to convey a one point in the pro-life message. If you're interested into what I'm looking at animation-wise, if you look up Freedom Tunes, there's a guy that runs that. His name is Seamus, and if you look up his stuff, I like the approach that he takes, which is more humor. But if you also look up the Reasonable Faith videos, Reasonable Faith has really high-quality animation, and that high-quality animation mixed with the humor is kind of like I want to meet in the middle. Unfortunately, right now, while I do have some experience with the animation, I don't have a copy of the program that I would need. That, again, will come in time. Whether I make more money at work or you guys support me here, I would be able to buy the Adobe suite that I need for that content. All right, so let's talk about slightly longer term. What I want to do is I want to be able to provide swag, or what the kids are saying is swag, right? I want to be able to provide t-shirts, signs, bumper stickers, regular stickers, patches. I have had so many people tell me that they want all these things and that they would be willing to buy them online if someone was actually offering it. But as of right now, I don't have the financial ability to invest in anything like that. And so I would love to be able to do that. I mean, granted, I will be selling it, but that would just be going back into my pro-life work. It would be the Patreon support that I get from you guys would be helping me establish the business. And then once the business is there, I can have that money coming back into further my pro-life work. So it's not like one of those things that I'm just going to be making like tons of money on. Plus, t-shirt and sticker sales, I'm not going to be making a ton of money on that. I really just want to provide the stuff that you guys want. In the longer term, I'm thinking about creating a more soundproof wall for my podcast. Anyway, on that, in the long term, what I'm thinking about creating is another podcast, because as of right now, I think audio is going to be the biggest thing that moves the needle in terms of what people are going to demand. Because what audio does is it allows us to buy time. You can work out, you can go driving, you can, go for a walk, you can do the dishes while doing that. So what I want to do is I want to make another podcast that is specifically dedicated to telling the stories of people who've been involved in one way or another in abortion. Whether it's the woman who was coerced into abortion, the man whose wife or a significant other chose to terminate their child, whether it's somebody who chose life even though they were raped. There's a whole bunch of stories and a whole bunch of people out there that I know would be willing to come on that podcast and tell that story. And so the reason I want to do the 2 podcasts is because the first one is giving you a philosophical and scientific understanding of like the unborn, personhood, things like that, so that you can engage in conversation. But we all know that logic alone and science and philosophy alone are not the things that convince everybody of your position. The reason that people are convinced a lot of times is because of stories. And I want to touch on both of those with my pro-life work. I want to touch on the logic and the science while also dedicating some time to the stories, because I think both sides are equally valuable, and I want to bring as many people into the pro-life fold as I can. So the content that I'm creating and the content that I will be continuing to create with your support will have at least two benefits. The first benefit will just be the straight up, the content is good, it's creative, it's funny, and it'll get the pro-life message out. Getting the pro-life message out convinces more people to be pro-life. Convincing more people to be pro-life, fewer babies are killed. At the same time, having the content that I'm creating will give me more visibility. And I know, that's self-promotion. People are against that, but I'm not doing it for that. What I mean is it'll give me more visibility so that I can impact more people, so that I can do more things for the pro-life movement. Now, I know what you might be thinking, and no, I'm not really all that interested in becoming some kind of a pro-life celebrity. I don't want to be like another Lila Rose or an Abby Johnson or anything like that, but I would love to have the opportunity to create more content, and with your support, even more content, to be able to get the message out there from my perspective. And that'll give me the opportunity to talk to more people in more places about the message that we want to convey, and that is that elective abortion is wrong, and that innocent children should not be killed because of your inconvenience, or because you consented to sex and didn't consent to pregnancy, or any of those other arguments. So again, having the financial support in a very real way creates the time needed to put out creative, engaging, and persuasive content. I'd like to personally thank you for being willing to support the work I'm doing with the podcast or the meme page or the other stuff in the future. Who even knows what I'll end up doing with this. But I'm humbled that you would even consider being a supporter of mine. I'm actually kind of humbled that you would even click the link, even if you're not planning on supporting me. But either way, I plan on giving you my absolute best in the fight for life. Thanks again.